vägen, så var vägen. Och att nu är det gång i det så det har vi sin gett stat nu det var så gajer det ni det var Ganya ge haga ni var hanjara och ganyato. Aswagan ni det var geno. Hagwago önska andi det var skit nu ni en gwat ni gorda. Da nu, da är till nu var då ni ungwe su'a. Yet tik ni sta o honja. Gah ni gordanyo. Ganjo su'a. O hande su'a. O nu kwa su'a. Da nu ni gwat komane gawane ni degerda doga. Oh degerda su'a. Jun hakwa. Da nu ni gwat komane gawane ni asah ni gunda dego. Ne onaste. Osa heda. Da nu unzira. Gahik su'a. Da nu ni gwat komane gawane ni gah ni ohun desa. O jit nuwa su'a. Kundirdio. Da nu ni gwat komane gawane ni oska nundu. Gardunda o ku'a, tahane guat kamane gawanane o wata. O jita o ku'a, tahane guat kamane gawanane o dunyo goa. Yatiso togo arda di werdas. Gayerni ni gawerdage. Sungwat ji'a, unja neka gardakwa. Yatisota asunta neka gardakwa. Yoji stoh guardanyo. Gayeri ni ungoyedage. Sungwaya dizo.
Hello, Ani, Sego, and welcome. My name is Nicole Jones, and I am the Project Manager of Indigenous Initiatives with the City of Hamilton. My role is to support the Hamilton's Urban Indigenous Strategy. I would just like to take a few moments to welcome you to the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Awareness event. Last year, the strategy had partnered with Hamilton Museums in displaying and honoring our sisters exhibit at Dundurn Castle. The exhibit took place September 26, 2019 to November 5th, 2019. This year, the strategy had partnered with Hamilton Police Services in displaying a continuation of the Honoring Our Sisters exhibit at Hamilton Police's Central Station. The display reflects the beginning partnership of the Hamilton Urban Indigenous Strategy and the Hamilton Police Services. It also opens up dialogue for us to have these difficult conversations on the ongoing nationwide issue of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. The exhibit reflects the strategy's 40 recommendations from the final report, the strategy's implementation plan, as well as the 231 calls to justice from the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls final report. Again, I would like to welcome you to our event this evening. We have some amazing guest speakers up for you. Again, I hope this really helps open up those dialogues to have this really difficult conversation. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy evening to come spend it with us. Miigwech.
Hello, my name is Wilhelmina McRimmond. I am Last Nation from Northern British Columbia, and I reside in the city of Hamilton, and I am here as one of the elders and one of the many spokesperson for the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Canada. And I'm going to talk about an event that we had last year at Dundurn Castle, and it was with the Urban Indigenous Strategy program that they have with the City of Hamilton in order to bring awareness to the Indigenous peoples. And one of our events was for the missing and murdered Indigenous women at the Dundurn Castle last year that we had. And because so many people tour the castle, they got to, our event was an added event, which was a bonus to a lot of the people. So a lot of people did come in to see the event, and they were surprised, or they asked about all the red dresses and the mannequins that we had. And we told them that this is to bring awareness to all the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and we don't want to see any more, because when we see that, that's our mothers, that's our aunts, that's our cousins, that's our nieces, that's our great nieces, and we don't want to see any more family members disappear or murdered. So we're trying every way we can to bring awareness to this problem that we have. and it was a great event. We had, at Dundurn Castle, we had this one gentleman that texted me on Facebook saying that he left a dress on a tree that I would find right away. And so I went outside to go and look for the dress when it was my turn to volunteer there. And it was a little red dress with a kind man patch on it. And I thought, wow, that was so beautiful, because a man actually had, was very moving that he had to put that little dress up with a kind man patch, saying that he is a kind man and he would like to help bring more awareness. So that was his way of bringing more awareness to it. So, because that's a story that could get passed down, and we would like to find more solutions to all the problems, because as a First Nations person or a woman, life is a lot harder for us because we're discriminated against, there's racism against us, and we need all that to stop. And we need to find answers as to how we can stop having the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls, because we don't want to see any more family members disappear. And the only way we can do that is by asking other community members to come forward to help us with solutions that we desperately need. You can find all the problems of what you want, but you can't find the solutions, and we need the solutions, which is very important to us, because we, like I said, we don't want to see any more family members disappear. We don't want to see any more, we don't want to read any more in Facebook or in any kind of social media or the news that, oh, there was another woman disappeared or another woman murdered, because that has to come to a stop. We're people just like everybody else, and we're asking all community members to come forward to help us spread the word, and can we find answers for our solutions. And this is only going to work if you guys help us. Everybody gets together, because it doesn't just happen only in the Native community. It happens in all the communities where there's a lot of violence, and we need to stop that violence. Mussy, thank you.
Ani Scanam, I'm Cheyenne Jenkins, Cuba Turtle Clan, and I was a part of last year's MMIWG honoring our sisters exhibit that ran at Dundurn Castle in partnership with the City of Hamilton and Indigenous Strategy. My experience at the exhibit was I was able to communicate with everyone in the community every day to spread awareness and education, and I was also able to speak at the opening where we had many people come from around the community, and it was standing room only. We were able to raise funds during this exhibit, and we sent them to Drag the Red in Winnipeg. Our next steps moving forward is we would like to have non-Indigenous companies come together and spread awareness to the calls to justice. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Bernadette Smith. I'm the sister of Claudette Osborne, who's been missing from Winnipeg, Manitoba since July 24th of 2008. I wanted to share a bit about the work that I've been doing here in Manitoba and right across Canada around missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. When my sister went missing, there wasn't a lot of support out there. There was no organizations that reached out to us. So I started an organization called Coalition of Families of Missing and Murdered Women in Manitoba. I specifically didn't put Indigenous in there because I wanted people to understand that this wasn't just an Indigenous issue, that it impacts everyone. You know, someone goes missing from your community, you're impacted. It could happen to anyone. And often people think, well, you know, I'm not Indigenous, not from that end of the city, you know, I don't frequent these places, so it can't happen to me. So we really wanted to implore the public to get involved in this, really. So when we started this coalition, the first thing that I wanted to do was create a toolkit for families. Create a toolkit that would support someone who is going through the experience of someone going missing or at risk to go missing. So I worked for a couple of years to create a toolkit, which is now being used right across Canada. I was just in Terrace, BC, doing some training with a group there to help them create the same toolkit that we have, but based on their geography. And really that toolkit walks you through what to expect in the first 24 hours, 48 hours and beyond, how to work with the police. Our relationship with the police was not a good relationship in the beginning. They took 10 days to actually investigate my sister's disappearance. My sister was 21 at the time, and she was an adult, and that's what they kept saying to us. She's an adult, she'll turn up. But she never did turn up. We're still searching for her. We still are creating awareness. We still do our vigils. We still do our march every year. Every year we hold a concert, and I'll share that later. But this toolkit really is about supporting and helping families and helping them to connect them to the resources that are in their community, how to work with the media. When my sister went missing, the headline was Aboriginal drug addicted sex trade worker missing. You didn't even know who my sister was until you read into the second paragraph. So it was very dehumanizing, and it really gave the public permission to blame my sister for going missing. So we really worked extremely hard to change that narrative and to really change the way the police were investigating and the information that they were giving out in the beginning. Because the other thing that really hurt in my sister's investigation was the police didn't ask us for a picture. They posted my sister's picture of her mugshot. And people know what a mugshot looks like. It has the white background. So again, people were blaming my sister for going missing. There were some of the things they were saying were like, well, she put herself in that position. Oh, she has a criminal record, just another, dead Indian, one less one to worry about. And that was really hurtful towards our family. But our family wasn't the only one that was experiencing that. We heard right across Canada that other families were also experiencing that same narrative that were being portrayed, not only from the police when they released information, but also from the media. So in that work, we also started, we wanted to have a media charter. And because of the freedom of speech, we weren't able to do it. But what we were able to do is we were able to reach out to individual reporters and ask them to sign on to our media charter. And our media charter basically said that they would report in a humanizing way and a respectful way, and that they wouldn't release pictures that weren't authorized by family members, and that they would work with families and tell the perspective of their family's loved one, rather than the narrative that was being told around having a criminal record or working the streets. And really, we wanted the public to know that just because someone, is addicted to something or working the streets or has a criminal record or is a woman or that is Indigenous, that does not give anyone the right to take their life. And we worked really hard on that for a couple of years, and we were really successful in changing that, in changing our relationship with the police, and making sure that now when someone goes missing that they're not releasing a mugshot. They actually go and get a picture from the family that the family wants put out with the media release. The other thing that we've worked really hard alongside the police is to ensure that there's supports there for families. I told you that we went and we reported our sister missing and we didn't get any support. We were basically given an incident number. Well, now here in the city, they have a support person that actually works with the families and helps advocate and, really supports them in walking, this unfortunate journey that they find themselves on. And no longer are police waiting 10 days to release photos. It's still not perfect. We still do have to put pressure on them, which our coalition does do. We are now in our 11th year of our coalition, and we're still doing work around working with families, working with community. Another thing that we did in our first year was we did some fundraising, and we really wanted to work with families on self-care, because we noticed that a lot of families who are going through the devastation of someone going missing or being murdered often takes a toll on someone. And we noticed that families had more than one person who had either gone missing or been murdered. So we really wanted to, help families get in touch with themselves and really look internally at, how do I know when I'm not taking care of myself? We were noticing things like families not leaving their house because they're afraid the police were going to come when they weren't home, or sitting by the phone and waiting for that phone call, or excessively searching, or cleaning their house, or, gambling, or turning to drugs and alcohol. Like, there's so many addictions that people often think, oh, it's just drugs and alcohol. But in fact, there's, overeating, undereating. And we were noticing those things. So we had a weekend where we brought families together, and we really looked at self-care and brought some experts in that walked us through, what our body is experiencing, and how do we know when we're not taking care of ourselves. So we had some, pardon me, we had some people come in and do massage therapy, Reiki. We had elders come in. We had multi-faith families. So we had a minister come in. Just different, we had a Muslim family, so we had someone from that faith, and really trying to capture and help families, move through the trauma that they're going through, because we often get stuck in that trauma. And that's what, we noticed with siblings of a missing person. Often we're being neglected. And so we really wanted to hone in on that. And we were really, wanted as well the government to know that there was a real void there in terms of supporting families. So our last day that we had our retreat, and it was a 3-day retreat, we invited government officials, and we asked them to come but not participate, to sit outside the circle and really just listen to the families and listen to what it is that they needed. And they came and they listened, and out of that came consecutive years of wiping away the tears, which was what our original retreat was called. And it's now in its 11th year, I believe, coming up next year. So it's continued on, and that work has continued on, working with families and really looking at the needs of families and what, it varies from year to year. We were successful in getting a special advisor to women's issues, and that person really worked alongside families. So families, if they were experiencing, police not listening to them, or looking for supports and didn't have the supports. And out of that, we were able to start an annual Santa's Coming Christmas gathering for families, because that's really a hard time of year for families. And families are, missing their loved one. And this would be our 10th year, but unfortunately, because of COVID, we've had to cancel it this year. But we are going to continue next year. We don't get any funding for any of the work that we do. It's often we do fundraising, or we take it out of our own pocket, or, donations. We also started a concert. So as I told you, my sister went missing July 24th of 2008. That year, there was a man named Hector Mino from Norway House, which is the community my sister's from. He was someone who had a band and wanted to do something. He wanted to fundraise to raise some funds for a reward fund. So he started the concert, and we continued it every year. So this year was our 12th year. And really it started as a vigil for my sister and as a way to raise funds. We raised $20,000. Unfortunately, no one came forward. And we felt it was super important to continue that because we didn't feel the community was connected to the issue. And the reason I say that is because when my sister went missing in July of 2008, there was no community outpour. There was no community, people that were coming, or even organizations that were reaching out to us saying, how can we help you? What can we do? Like January came, November came, and we organized a search because we were panicking. It was starting to snow. And again, it was just only our family that was at this search, and thankfully Norway House Cree Nation sent a busload of people. So 40 people came from Norway House, and they stayed for 2 weeks and helped search for my sister. And then fast forward to January, we had a 6-month vigil because we really wanted to keep my sister's name in the media and really make sure that people knew that she was missing, that she was still missing. So we had our vigil, and again, it was just our family and like people that were directly connected to us. So we've continued that concert every year, and that concert is really not just about my sister, but it's really wrapping our arms around those families that are experiencing that. And we went from about, let's say, 200 people to now about 3,000 people attending this concert. And we see people that we don't see at vigils normally, that we don't see at marches. So we're starting to see people in the last, I'd say, 5-6 years connect to this issue and really see this issue as not just an Indigenous issue or a woman's issue, but really a societal issue, and that everyone should be caring about this and getting involved. We also started in 2014, as people will know right across Canada, that Tina Fontaine went missing in Winnipeg here. And, she went through all sorts of systems, like the police. She was in the police hands that night. She was in the hospital. The ambulance picked her up. She was with a social worker who brought her to a group home and somehow ended up in the Red River, disposed of like human garbage. And that wasn't okay for us. And we started thinking about how many other people could be in that river. And we asked, the Winnipeg police to drag the river. And we knew that there was another young girl who in fact was a cousin of my sister Claudette's, named Felicia Solomon Osborne, who had also been found in that river. And her mom was given a piece of her arm and a piece of her leg. So you can imagine, as a parent, as a family member, how devastating that would be. And no one was ever charged with that crime. And there was other women as well that were found in that river. So we were trying to put pressure on the police. The police wouldn't drag the river. They said that they needed evidence to search. And we had said, well, you weren't even searching for Tina Fontaine. You were searching for Farron Hall, who had received the Medal of Honor from the mayor in our city because he had saved 2 people from that river 2 different times. And the third time he was seen struggling. And unfortunately, he was recovered, but he was recovered deceased. But they were searching for him and came upon Tina Fontaine. So we think of him as 3 times a hero because had they not been searching for him, they probably wouldn't have found Tina. So again, community came together. We put out a post that we were going to have a meeting. We invited community to come out. About 25 people came out, and we started Drag the Red 2 weeks later. A woman who had left the hospital, she had had mental health issues, had gone down to the river and put herself in the river, committed suicide essentially. And her family got in touch with us, and of course we went out and we were able to recover her body. And we've recovered, many, many families, loved ones from that river. Often police will search for 4 hours, come back 48 hours later, and really don't take a lot of time like we do. Like we're out there until it's dark. We're out there as soon as the light comes out, and we don't stop until we bring that loved one home. So that's some of the work that we've been doing here in Manitoba. And again, this is work that isn't we don't get any funding from anywhere. It's just fundraising, people using their own funds. It's all volunteer. And it's people and community coming together to say that, we care about this issue. We want to do something about this issue. And this is a way to help by volunteering, by supporting through, fueling the gas or fueling the tank for the boats, or even feeding the volunteers and helping to build the equipment. And, really we have a long way to go, because we still do have a lot of people that go missing in our city. We still, have to push back against police. Sometimes media has become a lot better than when my sister went missing, which is thankful, because we don't ever want to dehumanize someone who is a victim. And, nobody has the right to ever take their choice away. So I just wanted to say or share a few of the initiatives that we're doing in Manitoba. And, like I said, right across Canada, we've gone to Thunder Bay and helped them create their toolkit. Saskatchewan has started their toolkit. And we just want to encourage, people right across Canada to start to develop those tools and create those groups, those grassroots groups. And it's super important to us that we stay grassroots, because we don't have anyone telling us what to do and how to do it. And we're just able, if someone calls us and there's a need there and we can do it, we just are able to get out there and do it. And we know that, people out there know something. People just don't go missing or be murdered on their own. So we really are trying to hammer that message home and get people the justice that they need, and bring people's loved ones home, and stop this tragedy from happening right across Canada. So I want to say miigwech for allowing me to share and be a part of this video, and thank you so much for all of the work that so many people right across Canada are doing.
In 2019, the Urban Indigenous Strategy partnered with museums in temporarily installing the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Honoring Our Sisters exhibit from September the 26th to November the 5th. To continue raising awareness on the ongoing nationwide issue of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, the City of Hamilton Urban Indigenous Strategy and Hamilton Police Services have partnered in displaying a continuation exhibit of Honoring Our Sisters. This exhibit has been installed from October the 5th, 2020 to November the 5th, 2020. Gender and racial motivated violence is something we strongly condemn as a city. It's important that we continue to bring awareness and response to the ongoing national issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, Two-Spirit and LGBTQIA, and recognize that many of the national issues, such as MMIWG, also impact people locally. This exhibit shows commitment to missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, 231 Calls to Justice, the Urban Indigenous Strategy's final report, implementation plan, and a continuation of the Honoring Our Sisters exhibit. The partnership between the city's Urban Indigenous Strategy staff and Hamilton Police Services is an important one that we hope will continue to grow with learning, understanding, and patience. We are grateful for the opportunity we've had to support this exhibition outside the Hamilton Police Services downtown headquarters. We still have much to learn and understand, but are committed anew to doing all we can to support First Nations peoples across the city of Hamilton. To them I say, miigwech, thank you.
Hello, I'm Eric Gert, Chief of the Hamilton Police Service. In partnership with the City of Hamilton, under the Hamilton Urban Indigenous Strategy, the Hamilton Police Service is committed to raising awareness about issues surrounding missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit and LGBTQIA+. For the prior month, The Hamilton Police Service honored the lives of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and gender diverse persons by hanging red dresses in the courtyard at Central Station. The exhibit was designed to bring awareness to the many untold and tragic stories in an effort towards standing with local Indigenous communities. As we move along with Reconciliation Continuum, we recognize there is much work that lays ahead. The Hamilton Police Service is listening, learning, and responding to the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action and the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls calls for justice. We must all be present using our platforms to model how we can work together even when we are working through tensions. While the Hamilton Police Service is only one partner among many agencies that are working to address violence against Indigenous women, girls, and the Two-Spirit and LGBTQIA+ communities, we are cognizant of the key role we play. In this effort, the service is working to develop a Hamilton Police Service Indigenous strategy that will guide us in our commitments to Indigenous communities. With the assistance of community leaders, we commit to enhancing Indigenous education, training, and cultural awareness for Hamilton Police Service members to build our cultural competencies and, in order that we can best serve Indigenous communities, through steady steps and unwavering commitment, the Hamilton Police Service endeavors to support actions that will benefit Indigenous communities, address issues affecting murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls and gender diverse persons, reduce violence, and bring families and communities together to learn, share, and heal. Now is the time for these conversations, and the Hamilton Police Service looks forward to having them and continuing to work with Hamilton's Indigenous communities. Chi Miigwech, thank you.
Hey!